Okay, we're recording. So good morning, everyone. This is one of the 3 Evergreen 3.9 trainings that we're doing in preparation for our upgrade. On November 10th is the day that you'll come in and it will be upgraded. So this one today is Consolidated Patron Notes. My name is Catherine Donnell. I'm the Membership Engagement Specialist for PALS, if you don't know me. And this is what we're doing today. So I'm doing the brief introduction right now. Then we'll go over the Consolidated Patron Notes interface, just a brief overview of some of the features that have been consolidated into one interface, and then I'll do a demo, and then we'll have time for questions and answers at the end. If you have a question while I'm talking, feel free to put it in the chat, and if Elizabeth or Katie could let me know that there's a question, I would appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's get into it. So, overview. The basic overview of what's updated in Patron Notes is that in the Patron record, the Notes tab now displays all the notes, alerts, blocks, messages, and system-generated penalties, whereas before it was sort of spread out between a couple of different tabs. So you can create, edit, and archive all of these different types of notes all in one place, and you're able to scope them when you're creating them to a specific branch, to your system, or to all of Spark. Public notes will still show in the OPAC in the My Account message center. So if you have a patron visible note, it will still show up there. And I'll show you more towards the end, the patron message center that is actually in the patron record. That is still, if you haven't seen that, it is kind of another way to look at the patron visible messages. So I'll show you that in the demo. Okay, let's go over here. So, notes, this is what it's going to look like in the updated in 3.9. You'll still see that there's a notes tab, and you'll see how many active notes are in the notes tab with this number here. So there's 2 active notes you can see before you even go into the tab. Up here at the top are your active notes, and down here at the bottom are your archived notes. So once they're archived, you will not be able to do anything. You can't delete them. You can't edit them. So keep that in mind when you're archiving notes. And by default, you'll see that it's showing the last year's worth of archived notes, but you can use the column picker to go further back in time if you want to see older archived notes. So to create a note, you'll just come up here and click Create Note. There are different types of notes. So I'm going to use notes to talk about notes, but also alerts and blocks. These are all kind of, to me, I think of it as like the umbrella term for any sort of message that you put on a patron record. You'll see when you click on Create Note that the highlighted fields are the required fields. So you're required to put a title, and you're required to put your initials. This is a library setting. So that's actually adjustable in the library settings editor if you want to have staff initials required. And I think most people probably would, just so you know who's the one who left that message. I think also if you're signed in, I'll show you, if you're signed in like Pales Donnell, you'll see that Pales Davis or admin created, you could see the staff person who created the note as well as the initials. So there's also that if the initials are not required. Okay, so to create a note, you'll come in, and if you want it to be patron visible, you'll click this box. they can be visible, and that means that it's going to be visible in the patron OPAC account. You can also decide that it's only going to be staff visible by leaving that unchecked. So when a patron visible note is created on the account, Evergreen automatically creates a message that displays in the patron's OPAC account. So if you delete a message from here and it's a patron visible message, it will remove it from the patron's view as long as they haven't read it yet. So just keep that in mind, that once it's been read, you can't like unsend it from the patron message center. Okay, so let's go back to create a note. So if you wanted to just create a note, you would choose note, no blocks, and you would say something like patron. Well, actually, for an alert, patron left ID at desk. So a note is not going to show up here on the unread on the left. So if you wanted to notify other staff that the patron left something at the desk, you probably want to choose an alert. But a note could be something like, maybe something like what Scranton does for like ILL title or something.
Yeah.
Put the book title.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could also choose the depth at which you want that to be seen. So choosing the library system and library building, this is the specific branch that my workstation is, but I can also choose to have it visible at the system level. So test B is my branch and test S is my system level. And then everywhere would just be all of Spark. So just keep that in mind as well when you're creating notes or alerts or blocks. So one thing I've realized is that there's these tabs, but this drop-down menu does the same thing. So like if I choose note, no blocks, it chooses the note tab. If I choose alert, no blocks, it pops over to alert. So this is just another way to select the type of note that you want to add. So this is a block. Okay. So now you'll see this note is this alert. You can see that it's alert. You can see that it's on the active notes tab. And now I can go in, if I right click on it, I can click remove, which deletes it permanently. I can also edit it and you know, make any changes that I want to make to it. And then I can also archive it. And again, archiving it puts it down here where I can not do anything with it. Again, I can't delete it, can't touch it. So yeah, I'm right clicking to do that, but I can also come up here and click on the actions drop down and do the same thing. And this is also one of those that you can manage the columns that are visible. So if there's, if you want to show that, you know, when it was edited or something like that, you can add that column and make sure to save it. Okay, so for blocks, blocks can be manually added, and that just is a way to take away certain privileges from the patron for as long as that block remains. So this default here is an alerting block on circulation holds and renewals, which means that when this block is on, that this patron cannot check out items, they cannot place a hold on items, and they cannat renew items. You can add additional penalties to this blocks list in the local administration menu. If you want to do that, you can submit a support ticket and we'll help you with that. So yeah, this is a block and it remains until I decide to remove it or archive it. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, archiving will remove the block. Once they're archived, you cannot delete them, but archived patron visible notes will continue to show in the patron interface. And I did want to show you under other in the message center, you can see, it takes a little while to load, but you can see the notes that are in the patron message center. And this is just another way to, you can see if the patron has read it and if the patron, if the note is patron visible. Let's see if I can, oops, doing it live. I think there was a way to move the columns over before, but anyway, before when I was looking at it on my larger screen, I could see whether it was patron visible and whether the patron had read it. There's a column for that.
Catherine,
Yeah.
if you next to a Rose's name, there's like the little,
Oh, move the,
pinchy.
yeah, pinch this.
You just maybe refresh the screen. It might give you more to see.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, these columns show whether or not it's been read, whether it's patron visible. So this is the only one that the patron can actually see in their account. So that remains its own separate interface from the notes tab. Okay, any questions on this so far? Didn't see anything in the chat.
Well, so like, you know how earlier I was saying about my Control F finding a
Yep.
title? Well, if I click on title in this, will it put in alphabetical order? Like the title, will that put that in alphabetical order? So I don't even need to do.
Let's see, what is this? Yeah. No.
It looks like it's sorting them in alphabetical order, but it's sorting the capitalized separate from the lowercase.
Lowercase.
So that would be Z to A. So it's showing you, if you click on it again, Kat, that it'll be, so it's showing you first all the things that begin with a capital letter in alphabetical order, and then it's showing you all the things that begin with a lowercase letter. So you're probably consistent about capitalizing the first letter. So I think it would sort, and you would still be able to use the Control F, but it's probably only going to search whatever's displaying. So you would want to, what you would want to do is adjust what columns you're seeing and what width, so that you can make that
right, adjust columns and you can move the widths around and also decide how many rows you want to be showing as well.
We had a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
Autumn is asking, is there a specific time when you recommend an alert note be patron visible? So we've talked already about one of the use cases for that, which is that Scranton uses that for interlibrary loans for them to notify the patrons of the interlibrary loan requests.
Mm-hmm.
The other example that we always use is the umbrella. You left your umbrella, which I think is an Equinox training example. So those are two. I don't know if you if other people have other ones where they use patron visible notes. Which is better to use, notes or alerts, specifically for ILL messages regarding availability for patrons? Tessa, you use notes,
I use it.
right?
I do notes. Notes is like more for like our staff too. If I'm not here, because we don't put out, like ILL doesn't put most of the requests through for us to share it. So we use that for like staff. I mean, it does also too for the patron, because we make it public, patron visible when we do it. I wouldn't use alerts for this because I don't think staff upstairs in circulation wants to see all the ILL someone putting at the moment. You know, they can always go to that. I don't think putting the ILL for alerts, unless something, you know, make sure the patron don't put a specific title in. If you want to do that, we do have patrons that they're not allowed to take out one title because they either lost it or whatever. We have that happen here. So other than that, I wouldn't use alerts as for ILL. I would just use the notes fields for ILL.
Right, because the only difference between an alert and a note is that an alert also shows up in red right here on the left, and that could get a bit busy.
Yeah.
You know, if you had so many titles listed over here. Because an alert can also be patron visible. So it is like almost exactly like a note, except for this aspect of it where it shows up here in the patron summary.
So you could, for ILL, if you wanted whatever the current, like if they have something that is available and you wanted that to show in the summary for staff, that could be good. All right, so 2 questions about management. Once you archive a message, can it be unarchived? And can you convert alerts to notes? So like if they had something that was available and you wanted it to be an alert message.
Oh, interesting.
And then you wanted to convert it to a note.
Can I make it an alert? Please fill out this field. Yeah, so I guess, yes, you can convert that silent note into an alert. I didn't have to re-enter that text. So it seems like, yeah, you can easily kind of switch between the different formats. And you can also see that I edited what time I edited that.
Can you do that one more time just to?
Yeah.
So right click, edit note, and then
just come up here or the drop down menu and change the type of note that it is. And I guess also you might want to delete this and then click OK. So then it removes that alert and it converts it into just a silent note.
So that's an interesting, I hadn't thought about using it that way. So you could, once they're archived, you could copy paste it and create a new one, but you can't unarchive them. But you could move them between alerts and notes. So that's interesting. Another use case question, what do people use blocks for? So this is a manual block. It's not the same as like a overdue threshold block. Obviously, if you have an integrated computer management like Envisionware or Cassie, then a manual block would block a patron from logging in to the public computers. So that I've seen that is a use case when a patron has their computer privileges restricted, they put a block in the ILS to block them from using. I'm sure there are other, if people want to jump in with some use cases for manual blocks.
A manual block might be if you have disruptive behavior, or they've maybe extenuating circumstances where I can't even think of one really. Because the fine threshold one will automatically go into effect, but maybe you need it to happen
Right.
today, or
Yeah.
they're just,
Yeah, or if they're, sometimes it happen. Oh, you know, the other one that I've seen is if a patron lost a disc from an audiobook and it's
Mm,
already been checked in, but you're not necessarily going to bill them for it if they bring it back in, but you don't want them to be able to circulate other stuff until they bring it back in, then even if there's a bill that's blocking them, you might want also a manual block with text, so to explain the situation, that would then be cleared if they rectified the situation. So I've seen that before.
yep. And this
I've seen some
default-
weird stuff in those blocks too. Please
Mhm.
remember to be professional.
Yeah, right. Because again, it can be visible, you know, by anybody in your
Yeah, other staff.
yeah.
At Scranton, we use it for if a patron calls us and says they lost their library card, we put a block on it so that nobody can come in and use the card and request. We also use it for if mail gets returned because the address is wrong. We'll also block the account that way too.
Yeah, that's a good one. That you can mark the address invalid, but then also block it from additional circs until they update it. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yep. Yeah, and what I was saying before, like this is the default type of manual block, but you can also make a block for just holds, just renewals, just circs. If there's any, you know, reason that you want to do that, you can, that's an option as well. I think mostly you'd probably want to do circ, hold, and renewals though.
Yeah, some fine free libraries we've worked with to have different combinations of blocks, and we can do that for anybody, but typically it's all or nothing. And you can override, I believe you can override these. I don't think it grays out the checkout bar. I think it will let you override it.
Okay. It can try that.
Yeah. So you would have to have override permissions, but you can override it. What's the difference between blocked and barred?
Oh, difference between blocked and barred.
So if you pop over to the edit patron screen, the barred is a check mark. And what this means at your library is up to your libraries. People can talk about their use cases, but the difference software wise is where you approve it. Barred is not overridable, I'm pretty sure. If they're barred, there's nothing, you can't do anything, you can't override it, whereas a block is overrideable. I think. Somebody want to fact check me on that one?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I can.
Yeah, if you save and then
try to
pop back over to the checkout screen, then we can see. In the libraries that I have worked at, we've not used bar. Oh, maybe it is overridable.
I need a barcode.
you can use the support phone number, 717
What is it?
256 1627. That should be.
That's genius.
There's an
Yeah,
open
you can cancel the
transit.
transit. It's not a real.
The patron is barred.
Oh, okay, so it is overrideable, and that staff CHR is the manual block.
Manual block.
So there's not a big difference in terms of the output for staff usage. Okay, yeah, you can use it. Certainly, Nicole is saying that she uses the barred box when there are lost items on the account, and then she can clear it manually when you return. You could use that same workflow with the block as well. Some libraries migrated in with people. No, Nicole, it's up to you. It's whatever workflow works for you. The good thing about block is that you can have text. So especially for like library systems where you don't necessarily it's not necessarily the same location, and so you can't just ask somebody. And you may have different workflows. The blocks will let you put in text, but the barred is if you're the one person managing that workflow, and then it's easier, like it's a simpler check on check. There are also libraries that migrated in with barred patrons. It's something that's also in ILS, other ILSs, so it transfers back and forth a little bit better than some of the blocks. And you can run reports on them. Thank you, Betty, for that question, Elizabeth for answering. And if it's something where you do want to see, like some of these have been like at Altoona, if I can just, use that experience. I know Heather's here. There were things that had come over from 3 ILSs ago. So these are notes that are 20 years old. And so it can be good to run a report. Yeah, Heather's seen them. So like, depending on what your library brought when it's migrated to various ILSs and how long you've been automated, you could have stuff in there from like the early 90s. And so if you're looking for a data cleaning project, we're always happy to help you identify data projects. We love it.
I just want to add to the conversation regarding blocked and barred. When your patrons have lost items, the penalties also play a factor in this. So you might not need to do that extra step. The penalty should already be blocking them from checking out and renewing items. So if you want, you can demo this as well under the other. There's a refresh penalties option. It's the very first one. So if you're seeing that they have lost items and it's still letting them check it out, you can forcibly have the system refresh all the penalties and reapply the ones that should be impacting the patron actions. So you might not need to use the bar and the block boxes if you don't want to.
Right. Yeah, the system should be doing that work.
It should be, and I know some libraries have workflows where they essentially want to certify that the patron has completed all their obligations, and that is, if that's a workflow that works for you, then great, but it should apply and clear manually. And so the question about then using your electronic services. Depending on how your ebooks and other streaming services are set up, it may or may not, both the barred box and the blocks should work the same over SIP connections. Right, Elizabeth? Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, Nicole, you're in Wayne County, so you may need to talk to Michelle about the limits and things, because that's set, I think, by the district.
Yes,
but
often
if you
those
don't,
are district. It depends.
Yeah. If you don't tell those services that you need to block when these messages appear, they'll just let them continue to use the services.
So, and many libraries and districts during the pandemic went to removing all, like, just as long as it's a valid barcode, you can stream, because people weren't necessarily able to clear those things. So I know some of our libraries are going back and readjusting those things. But typically services that operate over SIP can block people, and you can choose which, because Evergreen will communicate like which blocks, like is it a fine block or what the issue is. And so most of those services, then you can kind of you can tell the other service what people you like. Do you want to block expired accounts? Maybe you do want to block expired accounts, but you don't want to block on fine thresholds or vice versa. So those things Evergreen will communicate. It's just how much can the other vendor accommodate. We have some, especially for district services, where not all the libraries are on Spark, where they're just validating on the barcode format. And so if you're not directly talking to the database, then obviously that's not an option. So it varies depending on who manages the service and what the other vendor is. And we can help with that some, but you know, and if it's something where, you know, I know we've worked with the other vendors sometimes to see like, okay, you know, these block on these codes, not on these codes kind of thing. So yes, always check with your district consultant. They're very helpful.
Good advice. Any other questions? Because this is really it. This is what I wanted to show you with the new interface. Yeah.
So the ones, because I have a patron that has like 250 notes in his thing. So
Yeah.
with all this transfer over, like his notes in there, all that would transfer over to this, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Everything is going to be there. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Betty.
Hi, Betty.
Hi, I have a question. At my library, we actually were using something called the alert field in the patron's record for our billing. So if you go to the edit the patron's record, there used to be an alert field in there. And in this 3.9, I'm not seeing the alert field. So we were using this alert field for our billing. We were using it when we would send them a notice. We would put in there that we sent a notice. We would send them a second notice. It would show up in red on the side, but it was not clearable unless we actually went into the record and took it out. And we used this because when we would run daily reports of anyone who had fines in their account over a certain amount, we would also tag that line to be shown in the report, so we knew if they were due for a second notice. And this is basically, now we're fine free, so we're only using it for billing of replacement charges, but we're noticing in 3.9 it's gone.
Oh,
it's not gone.
Oh, thank you.
It is moved to this consolidated notes tab.
Right.
So it used to be that you in 3.8 and previous, there were two ways to set an alert. You could set an alert message in Edit Patron, or you could set it in the notes tab, and they moved it all to the notes tab because it's confusing for people to have it in two places.
I could see that, but so, because our report only looked at the one, it's a lot more confusing if now we have to look at every note to try and find the billing note.
So what I think you would want to do, and we can run some reports on your existing data to be sure, but I think what you would want to do is instead of like deleting the text out, like clearing the text out and adding a new note the way that you would have done in Edit Patron, you would archive the old alert and when you want to no longer see that in the report. And then in the report, we can filter on archived versus not archived. And they could all of your current ones will come over from the Edit Patron into this interface.
So you're saying that when we put them on, we immediately archive them so that we can just find the archived ones in the report, so we're not finding them.
I would say the reverse. I would say like it's because what you would do now is say if you've got a patron who's gotten a first notice,
right,
and you get them, the second notice is being mailed, so you go in and you would delete out the text that's in the alert box now,
right,
and then add new text in.
Right, but my question is when we get that report in the morning and we look at the column that shows how much money they owe, so then we know this person must have paid because now they owe $0, but they still have a note on their account that they're being billed, so we're going to go and take that note off. But I also have to filter through the note that says that they returned something without a DVD, and filter through the note that says that that they left your umbrella at the library. So because we had it in the because we had it in the patron, we could zero in on just that note field. And so we didn't have to filter through any other notes. The only notes that were in that note field were billing notes.
I have an idea.
Okay.
You
Oh,
could
yeah.
if you go to create note,
Uh-huh.
Catherine,
Mm-hmm.
and you can still put it in the alerts. So the top box is the title. You could use bill, just the word bill as the title. And then the note text be the actual amount or whatever you normally put in.
Right.
And we can structure the report to just give you items where the title is bill.
That is
And then
perfect.
you can filter it out that way. Or
Thank
or
you.
it'll or when we do the output, it might be easier to
We
it'll
could
make
even-
it sorting it easier in
Yeah.
Excel.
Yeah.
Yes, even if we had everything there, if we could just sort out the ones that say bills, we could do that in Excel, correct?
Mhm.
This would work for us. We were just a little concerned that we wouldn't have a straight view of them, and we'd have to spend a lot more time to see them.
Mm-hmm.
So Colleen also asked if you could put the date in the title. You could, but you also have the create date column already built in.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do both if you want, but that column is standard.
And yeah, and you can sort from most recent to oldest or vice versa.
Betty, if you can put in a support ticket that has a couple of example patrons that have these type of notes,
Yes,
then
sure.
we obviously we won't be able to do some of it until we go live, but that'll let us just take a look
Yeah.
and make sure that that'll work. That is not a workflow that I have heard before, and so I'm glad
you know
that
what?
that you brought it up.
I think we got the idea from Bethlehem when we started to want to send our own bills instead of using a different billing. We wanted to keep track of them, so we wanted so we got a daily report every day of accounts that have more than so much and less than so much, and we can see when they paid and when they didn't pay. It's working really well, and so we just have to change it up so that we can still use the same method. We'll just do it with the title like she suggested.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you
we-
demo the public side of what it would look like for a patron?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, one sec. This bar is in my way. Wait, I'm blanking. Is there an easy way to get right to their?
No, you'll just have to log into the catalog. So
You'll open a new
Open a new thingy. Okay.
and then just go to the OPAC.
I'll have to log in as Rosa.
Yeah, I messaged you the username and password.
Oh, thank you. No.
I wonder if it's because you're also because you're logged into the staff, like try an incognito window.
Okay.
Sometimes it.
Does somebody have a bird? Oh. I love birds. Oh, why? Sorry, this is not working.
Give it a second. I just updated the password.
Okay.
Just try her first name.
Oh,
Or
first name.
lowercase.
Is she still barred?
Oh, yeah, she's barred.
She's barred. Oh no. Okay, good point. Look at us.
I guess. So to answer the earlier question, Oh, Peppered. I love Peppered. I get so to answer the earlier question about the difference between barred and blocked. Blocked will not, it will bar you from doing things in the OPAC, but it won't bar you from logging in, and barred appears to prevent you from logging in to the OPAC.
No, her username is still that, but then her.
Oh,
Sorry.
wait, so, oh my gosh.
Yep. Nope,
Okay.
password is just her name.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
No, it's me. It's me freaking out. Why is this happening? Do you want to take over?
Yeah, let me log in.
Because I think
I was gonna say I can give you my like test username and password, but I didn't set notes on it.
thanks for your patience, everyone.
Yeah, it's not letting me log in either. What?
Oh no. Oh, Rosa.
She's a real troublemaker.
Kat, you can try. Oh, here, I guess I'll send it to you instead of telling everybody what mine.
Do you have notes on your?
I don't think so.
Okay. Katie.
But we can at least see what the interface looks like.
Hallelujah. Okay.
And Elizabeth, if you pull my username up, then you can you can add a message.
Teamwork.
Which account? I'm sorry.
It's the username is TKD217.
Oh, okay.
And I don't remember when we reset the test server, so I don't have any idea what like gigantic fines I might have.
Okay.
Okay, got a message.
Oh,
This
wait,
is
hold on. I said
Patron.
Yeah.
Patron visible message. Okay.
Nice.
There we are. And that's the staff initials are right there. And I, as a patron, can delete it or mark it unread. And then once I've read it, it should show that I've read it. Let me see what that looks like. My last. Okay, notes.
I accidentally archived it, so it'll be down the bottom.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, red date time,
okay.
10:42 a.m.
Nice.
Cool. Okay. Is there anything else that I missed that I should demo? Is that okay?
Hey, this is Mary Beth. I had a question.
Hey, yeah.
If the patron marks it unread, what happens on the staff side? Because that's a surprise there.
Right? Okay, let me see. I'm not sure, but I want to see as well. Okay, so now it's showing up bold, like as though I haven't read it. I want to see if I refresh this. Ah, it disappears.
Okay.
Interesting.
So, yes. Yeah. Not a fail-safe there.
No.
Thank you for looking at that.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for asking.
And then what happens if Maggie's asking what happens if we delete it?
If we delete the message as a patron. Oh, I could have done that from the drop down too. Okay, if I delete it, I think it just ends up staying. It shows that I read it. It stays here in the archived.
And then is there another column to turn on? There might be.
Deleted,
Okay, so
yes.
yeah, so it says it tells you as the staff that it was deleted by the patron. Interesting.
Yeah, very. Okay. Well, if there are any other questions, I'll stick around.
Here, I'll
But we'll
turn the
yeah.
recording off here.